Chapter 7 Adding CCS in HTML5 Pre-processing Understanding cascading style sheets, setting background properties, setting margin properties, inline styles, ways of inserting CSS in HTML, setting text properties, setting border properties. You have learned to create the basic design of a web page using HTML5 and view it in a web browser. Let us now learn to use cascading style sheets or CSS in an HTML document to apply formatting to various elements on a web page. Understanding cascading style sheets. Cascading style sheets (CSS) is a style sheet language used to describe the presentation of an HTML document. A style sheet holds formatting codes that control the appearance of your web page. You can use style sheets to enhance the look of various elements such as the background color, font, margins, alignment of text, and much more. CSS helps you control the style and layout of multiple web pages at once. Style sheet syntax. Style sheets are made up of rules. Each rule within CSS has two components, a selector and a declaration. Selector. The selector specifies the element to which you want to apply a style rule and is followed by a space. Declaration. The declaration specifies the formatting rules for the selector. It consists of a property and its value separated by a colon. Multiple properties and their values can be specified separated by semicolons. The declaration is enclosed within a pair of braces. For example, to set the background of a web page as yellow, the CSS statement is: here, body is the selector, background color is the property, and yellow is the value of the property. Ways of inserting CSS in HTML. CSS can be inserted in an HTML document in one of the following ways. Inline CSS. An inline CSS is defined in an HTML document inside the body section to specify formatting for specific elements. Embedded or internal CSS. An embedded CSS is part of an HTML document and is defined in the head section of the document using the style element. External CSS. An external CSS is a separate document that contains the style rules for various elements on a web page. It is specified in the HTML document in the head section. Knowledge discovery. Similar to HTML documents, external CSS are created in Notepad. These files are saved with the extension .css. Let's learn how to use embedded CSS and inline CSS to set properties of various elements on a web page. Setting background properties. Background properties are used to set the background style for a web page. The various background properties are described in the table given below. Lab Activity 1. To insert a background image for a web page, 1. Open Notepad and create the HTML document as shown below. 2. Open the HTML document in Microsoft Edge. Lab Activity 2. To set cyan as background color in a web page. 1. Open Notepad and create the HTML document as shown below. 2. Open the HTML document in Microsoft Edge. Knowledge discovery. The image to be used as the background of a web page must be placed in the same folder as the HTML file of the web page. Setting text properties. Text properties provide various formatting options to let you style text in a web page. The various text properties are described in the table given below. Property, description, value, values, example. Color specifies the foreground color of the text. Color name, hexadecimal color value, RGB color value. Color, blue. Color, #FF3535. Color, RGB 40, 550, 135. Let us learn about some of these properties in detail. Color property. The color property is used to specify the color of text for various text elements in a web page. You can specify a recognized color name, a hexadecimal color value, or a RGB color value. Recognized color names include red, green, yellow, pink, cyan, etc. For example, hexadecimal color values are specified as #RRGGBB, where RR red, GG green, and BB blue are components of the color and have values between 0 and FF. For example, RGB color values are specified as RGB red, green, blue, where each color value can be from 0 to 255 or a percentage from 0 to 100. For example, consider the code given below. The above code specifies to the browser that the paragraph text is in red color and heading level 1 is in orange color. Hexadecimal values of some common colors. Text align property. The text align property is used to control the horizontal positioning of blocks of text in a web page. You can align text to the left, right, center, or justified. By default, most web browsers align text to the left. Consider the code given below. The above code specifies the browser that paragraph text is right aligned, heading level 1 is center aligned, and heading level 4 is justify aligned. Text shadow property. The text shadow property is used to apply shadow to the text. The value of the text shadow property is given as where edge shadow specifies the position of horizontal shadow in pixels, V shadow specifies the position of the vertical shadow in pixels, and color specifies the color of the shadow. For example, here 3px specifies the position of the horizontal shadow in pixels, 4px specifies the position of the vertical shadow in pixels, and orange specifies the color of the shadow. Consider the code given below. The above code specifies blue shadow for paragraph text and brown shadow for heading level 1 text. Text transform property. The text transform property is used to control the capitalization of the text. You can choose from 4 case values: capitalize, uppercase, lowercase, and none. Consider the code given below. The above code specifies to the browser that the text of paragraph appears as it is and the text of heading level 1 in uppercase. Font properties. The font properties are used to specify the font, size, and style for the text in a web page. Consider the code given below. The code specifies to the web browser that the text of paragraph is in Calibri font of small size and the text of heading level 1 is in Arial font and italicized. Lab Activity 3. To style text in a HTML document using text and font properties. 1. Open Notepad and create the HTML document as shown below. 2. Open the HTML document in Microsoft Edge. Setting margin properties. The margin properties are used to set the margins of a web page. You can set margin values for the top, bottom, left, and right margins around a web page. The margin properties are described in the table given below. Knowledge discovery. You can set margin sizing using points, pt, pixels, px, millimeters, mm, centimeters, cm, inches, in, picus, pc, x height, ex, or em space, em. You can specify the margin property in 4 ways. Consider the following examples. In the above code, top margin is 10px, right margin is 5px, bottom margin is 15px and left margin is 20px. In the above code, top margin is 10px, right and left margins are 5px, and bottom margin is 15px. In the above code, top and bottom margins are 10px and right and left margins are 5px. In the above code, all four margins are 10px. Setting border properties. The border properties are used to set the styles of the borders around an HTML element. You can specify the width, style, and color for the border. The border properties are described in the table given below. Knowledge discovery. You must specify the border style property before the border color property, since an element must have a border before changing its color. Lab Activity 4. To style a web page using margins and borders, 1. Open Notepad and create the HTML document as shown below. 2. Open the HTML document in Microsoft Edge. Inline styles. Inline styles are used to specify a style for a specific HTML element in a web page. An inline style is specified by adding the style attribute to the HTML tag. Inline styles are useful for formatting specific elements in different styles. The various properties with the style attribute need to be enclosed within double quotes. Lab Activity 5. To use inline styles in a HTML document, 1. Open Notepad and create the HTML document as shown below. 2. Open the HTML document in Microsoft Edge. Database. CSS was first introduced in 1994 by Håkon Wumli while working at CERN with computer scientist Tim Berners-Lee. The motivation for making CSS was to provide a system to style the information which is being presented on web pages through HTML and to isolate the process of styling from that of content creation. Compared to previous versions of CSS, CSS 3 is separated up into many individual modules, which is improving both the functionality and the ease of working. Post-processing. Cascading style sheets or CSS is used in an HTML document to apply formatting to various elements on a web page. Each rule within CSS has two components, a selector and a declaration. The selector specifies the element to which you want to apply a style rule and is followed by a space. The declaration specifies the formatting rules for the selector. It consists of a property and its value separated by a colon. CSS can be applied in HTML documents in form of embedded or internal CSS, inline CSS, and external CSS. An embedded CSS is a part of an HTML document and is defined in the head section of the document using the style element. An inline CSS is defined in an HTML document inside the body section to specify formatting for specific elements. An external CSS is a separate document that contains the style rules for various elements.